welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers on every single week. Today we have
Jacob Bresette with Lake Effect Surf Shop.
And we are here at the surf shop. Yeah, in the morning, in the very early morning.
He got me here at 7 a.m.
And we're here on, this will be in the future, but Small Business Saturday. So there's going to be tons of people walking through here.
Hopefully.
Are you ready? Are you ready for that madness?
I hope so. Yeah. I'm glad you got me here early to get set up for it now.
Yeah, to start. And we are at a surf shop in Milwaukee, which people might, if they're not from here, I guess, see like that's odd, you know? Cause I got introduced to by running, as we talked about it before, but running on the lakefront, and I would see people surfing like at this time of the year. And you said there's people out.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's people out today. It is, again, day after Black Friday, Small Business Saturday. So end of November. And, luckily today it's not too cold, but yeah, we will go all the way through the winter, as long as we can until the ice locks us out.
So first of all, when did you start surfing?
So I actually started surfing around 2006, right around the year I graduated high school. Kind of the story behind it is I was always into skateboarding and snowboarding and any action sports like that.
Sure.
My friend's dad was actually a shoe rep for a big kind of shoe distribution company.
Okay.
And he would have Nike, DVS, and all these other kind of skate brands and stuff. So we'd go through his basement and he'd have boxes of swag from his trade shows. And we would grab t-shirts and grab stickers and everything we could find out of there. Well, story is actually one day I was going through one of those boxes of swag with him and he goes, "Here, take this too," and throws me a surfing DVD. Oh. And I never really thought much of it. I'm here in Wisconsin, in the Midwest. And so anyways, it kind of sat in my basement for a while, and one day I was bored and I took it out, checked it out, and popped it in. When I watched it, I was like, wow, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Guys surfing these natural waves. I already love board sports as it is.
Right.
So yeah, surfing these natural waves and all these different locations around the world, and the sense of adventure kind of drew me as well. So that was 2006. I didn't even know you could surf on the lakes here. Yeah. So when I graduated high school, I basically begged my mom, like, take me out to California so I can just learn and just do it once. That was kind of what kind of spawned, or I should say, got me into surfing. Went out to California, learned to surf, loved it. At that time, I was, as I mentioned, a big snowboarder. So actually ended up moving out to Colorado after high school to work at Keystone on the ski hill. Okay. So I could go snowboarding every day and enjoy the mountains. But also I was halfway closer to the ocean too. So it would be just a day drive to California.
Oh, wow.
So basically at that point I was taking trips out to California, just bought some cheap boards, used wetsuit, and tried to just find anything I could out there.
What's the learning curve like for surfing though? Is it like a really hard, I would say I'm relatively coordinated. So like how hard would it be for me to learn how to surf? Because I feel like it looks really, really hard to do.
And it can be. The thing about surfing, I always say, is that it's really condition based. So there's days where you go out there and it's just sloppy. It's terrible. And, it's like a washing machine out there. And that can be difficult to learn in because it is pretty chaotic in the water. However, there's other days too where if you get a nice kind of offshore wind and more groomed out, cleaner line, and something that's not huge either. Something like that can be much easier to learn on. So obviously everyone has their own physical skill set, but at the same time, the conditions,
the environment. Yeah, because you look at some of these pictures in your shop here, the waves get pretty big. Like you wouldn't think that, at least I wouldn't, even like growing up here, like the Great Lakes can like produce that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but like, so the culture with like surfing and stuff, when did that actually start here? Do you know? To
the best of my knowledge is usually, and again, it could go back further than this. I hate speaking for any lake historian stuff like that. But a lot of the documentation we have goes back to the 50s and 60s. So, and a lot, if you look at the USA too, that's when a lot of the surf era kind of spawned out in Malibu around the 50s and whatnot. So, actually I have a photo in the shop here and I can show you afterwards. Of the Lakeshore Surf Club in 1968. Oh, wow. So there was actually not only surfers here in 1968, but enough of them to actually form a surf club and have a surf culture here.
Is there like documentation of like how the waves were like back then compared to now? Like, is there a difference?
Well, they do track the data on the Great Lakes through the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So they may have some data for some of those dates going back. But now, luckily enough, with social media and stuff like that, we can just go back and look at those photos and the timestamps and dates. So
I mean that's cool to be a part of it, because like the community is it a pretty big community here, or is it more of like a niche? Because I feel like, I mean, anybody can come into the shop really and buy shirts and stuff, but like actually going out there, is how many people are like in this surf community here? You know,
when I first did our business plan and tried to estimate how many people in this area would surf, we said about 250. Since opening the shop, I would say maybe more around 350 to be honest. And now there are people that surf out there in the winter, any season. Yeah. And then there's also people that just come out in the summertime and only when it's nice out with the family.
Fair weather surfers.
Exactly. And there's a lot of them. So usually this time of the year we start to see the true diehards just out there, and the other ones are weeding out.
Yeah. So I guess coming back to this then, why did you decide to come back to Milwaukee or Wisconsin, I guess, and start a surf shop here?
Yeah, and well, I guess before we get to that too, I just wanted to touch on that 350 number one more time. That would actually be for our southeastern Wisconsin area. If you're talking all the Great Lakes, a lot of people say, well over 1,000.
That's
So I just wanted to make that point in case someone's listening to this podcast. Like, what's 350? What? No. But yes, I would say more like 1,000 probably for the whole Great Lakes.
What states would those be though? Like just the ones touching the Great Lakes?
Well, it's not even just the states. Actually, if you think about it, Canada has a large portion of the North Shore of Superior and Huron on Ontario. So I would say that's more, between all the way from Buffalo, New York to Duluth, Minnesota.
Like all the lakes, I'm presuming, based on like the size and where they're located, have different types of waves and different like seasonal. Is it all pretty much the same because they're all close-ish?
It depends on the lake, the bed of the lake, how that, whether it's rock or sand, if it's going from deep to shallow, or if it's a more gradual grade on the bottom. So it really kind of just depends on the overall geography, more than the actual, one specific spot. So
have you surfed on more than Lake Michigan?
Just Superior right now. I'm trying to hit them all.
I'm on a list. So then with that, why did you decide to come from Colorado? Is that where you were before this?
Yeah. So basically graduated high school here in Wisconsin, moved to Colorado for a couple of years. And then, friends and family kind of drew us back this way.
Okay.
That was around 2009, 2010. Okay. And when I came back again, didn't even know you could surf here. So I was really, really bumming out, thinking once a year, twice a year, maybe make it to the coast and get to use the surfboard again. But then actually I had my boards in my apartment, and one of my friends saw them and said, "Hey, I think people surf on Lake Michigan." So instantly grabbed my laptop and I'm Google searching, people surfing little waves. And so that actually, after that, I'm like, this could be cool. This is awesome. There's surf right here. Didn't even know it. So, what kind of drew us back this way was just our friends and family, but then discovering you could surf here was awesome.
Yeah, so I feel like the discovering you could surf and surfing here is one thing, but like starting a business is a completely different animal. So how did you decide to make the jump into, and I guess this specifically too, because you could have probably done anything really business related.
Sure.
Why did you specifically decide to open the surf shop here?
Well, I always loved going to skate shops and snowboard shops when I was a kid.
I did too. Something about it.
I dragged my parents there, get a DVD or sticker or something, So I always really loved the atmosphere of the shop.
Sure.
After I did work a little retail, here and there after my high school, and I always told myself I'll never do retail again. Well, sure enough, here I sit in my own shop. But anyways, what kind of drew me to do the business was it wasn't any instant decision or anything like that. I was surfing the Great Lakes probably 5 or 6 years now by that time, and I was actually in a heavy blues psych band.
Oh, really?
So, and my friend who was our guitar player moved out to Portland, so kind of my main thing there fizzled out, and was still surfing a lot and coming to the lakes a lot from where I was living in Madison at the time.
Okay.
So it was like a couple hours, each way to drive whenever I wanted to surf. And I always wanted to live closer to the lake. And, I'd come through Milwaukee here.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, wow, this is such a great city. Like, this would be a perfect spot for a shop. It's
Yeah.
biggest city in the state. People come in and out for these events
Right.
all the time. And, I know there's a surf shop up in Sheboygan and,
Okay.
a bunch over in Michigan. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I always wondered why they didn't do one here. So, actually, after my band kind of broke up and I was actually working at an insurance company at the time, working my way up the corporate ladder, making good money, pension, 401k. But every night I would come home just feeling like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
It just wasn't really fulfilling. So, my wife one night asked me like, well, what do you really want to do? And I told her, I was like, I really want to start a surf shop in Milwaukee. Like, driving there all the time to surf, and the people, the community I met here was really nice and welcoming. So that being said, one thing led to another. It took about 2 years to make a business plan, save up what we needed to, had to sell my motorcycle, and finally got what we needed to make the move. So it took a lot of work, but
and I think people don't see that a lot, like the back end. People just see, oh, look at this business that you have, it's so cool. Like, it must, like, and then they don't think about how much lead up time that took to get to that point, or how much work it took probably and sacrifice.
Oh, and so much, so much rolling the dice too. When you go into something like this, it's not like it's a common practice in this area where you can just go to other people and ask
how'd you
works.
do it? Yeah.
So you are kind of rolling the dice like, well, I think this product will be good for it, or maybe this will work well. And you're right. It's a lot of work, but you just kind of keep your nose to the ground. And
because how long have you been here in this space?
So actually, we've been here almost 3.5 years. It'll be 3.5 years in January. So
I mean, it's like everyone has to come here, but because it's like all this stuff is so cool. Even the merch. If you don't like actually want to try to go surf, like all this, like all the clothes and stuff, which you said you designed. A lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. So how did you come up with the brand specifically? I'm looking at the Wiloha shirt down there.
Oh, thanks. Well, that one is funny because I saw a picture of Wisconsin, and then I've seen other renditions of, hands in the Wisconsin shape.
Yeah, sure.
And I always thought it'd be cool to do the Hawaiian shaka with like Door County as the thumb. Yeah. And, no one really did it. I searched it all over to try to see if I was copying anyone. And sure enough, it seemed like an original idea. So I kind of drew it out, had my friend who was a graphic artist, put it into a nice one line, make it look clean. And one day I was actually, so I had that graphic, and then one day I was actually just sitting in my chair at home hanging out, and I just kind of thought, what would be a cool phrase to kind of throw with that logo, and Wiloha kind of popped in. Wisconsin Aloha kind of meshed together, and that's kind of how I came up with the concept. Is just I don't want to say random, but
it's really cool. And I mean, all the stuff is like, cause I feel like surf and like skate shops, they have a very specific look that's kind of, it's just automatically cool.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like the stuff up there, it's like, oh yeah, of course I would wear that. That's like so cool.
Yeah. Well, then you got to mix those like skate and surf brands in too. So like anyone who's in the industry immediately feels welcome or a part of the business.
Sure. And I mean, like, so what do you think, going back to like starting surfing, and even when you were, like, what do you think was drawing you to doing that? Like, what do you think about surfing and skating even too, that you like love, that you had to keep like going back to?
That's interesting. It's an interesting question, because sometimes I wonder why I'm drawn to it. I see people that are drawn to other sports, and I think, why am I not drawn to that? Or why are they not drawn to surfing or skating? I think I've always liked that kind of counterculture of, doing an individual sport your own way. And believe it or not, surfing, skating, snowboarding, although it is a quote unquote sport, I always see it as an art as well. I mean, it's a way, everyone's got their own style and does things differently and expresses the maneuver differently. So I always really liked that it wasn't only a sport of, X amount of points or whatever, but more of an art that is, physical activity.
Sure. Cause I mean, like if you watch sports like football and stuff, there's only so many ways you can catch, you can't really put that much flair on it. You know what I mean? Whereas surfing, snowboarding, you throw skiing in there too, or, but all that stuff, you can sort of, you have your own style, like, oh, that's how he does it, For
sure.
Yeah. And so what is your specific style, do you think?
Oh man. Well, I'm always hard on myself. My style's pretty pretty wonky compared to some of my friends that rip. No, it's just you're your own worst critic, that's right? My style. Yeah. Well, that's what's funny. I own and run the surf shop, but I always tell people I'm not the best or gnarliest surfer out there.
I don't think you have to be either, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
but there are guys too who come from the coast that just have experience on waves, on really good waves consistently. Yeah. Who you can instantly tell, like, okay, he's lived somewhere else.
How can you tell that? Because my question is, like, is there like a difference in culture between like people that surf on the coast and people that surf like on the Great Lakes? Like
the culture is actually quite a bit different. Just in it's a little more welcoming here. I always tell people it's kind of like surfing was back in the 50s here. It's kind of, we have people just starting to shape surfboards where within the past few years, whereas on the coast, now a lot of the surfboard shaping is going to automation and, machine manufacturing. So it's kind of funny to see people here, milling and using their hands, whereas on the coast now, that's kind of, people still do that every day, but the big brands are not just machine manufacturing them. So, anyways, it's the culture here, it's amazing. I always say, life's about the who's, not the what's. And that's really what our culture is here. We don't have the best waves or the most consistent waves, but the people here are what really make it special. Out there, sometimes on the coast, it's like, oh, what kind of board do you have? Bing or Jacobs or a Stewart. And here it's just like, hey, you got a surfboard, cool. People flagging you down and stuff. So obviously it's got a lot bigger now than it has in the past, but the people are really genuine, welcoming. It is a real surf lineup out there. You want to have the etiquette and respect for other people, but at the same time, very, very welcoming and warm environment.
Yeah, I feel like too, it's sort of the difference between like California and like the Midwest, whereas like everyone seems like they just want to get ahead. They don't care if they step on you to do it. They don't want to teach you. They're going to go out there and do it and show you how cool it is. Whereas here it's much more of like, oh yeah, like let's go out together. Let's learn some stuff, cause I heard you say something about like, it's not about like getting 20-foot waves or 2-foot waves, or it doesn't matter. It's just going out there and, experiencing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's, I think I mentioned too, it's kind of about the journey and, lake surfing here. You'll have to drive sometimes around the whole lake to find waves. And if you have a weekend to do it, you will. And, you'll grab a couple buddies and then roll around the lake and you'll find yourself in this random town you'd never go to in this little cafe eating an omelet or something. And it's those little moments in life where I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
I never would have came here.
And that's what I like about Great Lakes surfing is it's always bringing you places you'd normally never go to, but giving you that adventure.
What has been your favorite place that you sort of found because of surfing, like then looking for waves? Has there been a specific place that like you think about in your mind?
Usually I judge it off of restaurants and breakfast.
That's how it goes with it.
I'm a breakfastaholic. So when I find like a really good little diner or something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. But no, honestly, it's brought me all over northern Wisconsin, up to, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, into some old logging roads where we're like, are we even going to be able to get our car out of here? But we see on the map, it looks like there's a little hidden beach down there, something we can surf. So I'd say, up in the Upper Peninsula, tons of fun stuff up there we've stumbled upon.
Yeah, because I've been up to northern Wisconsin, and it seems sort of like a different place. Like when you drive up there, it's almost like you're in a different state entirely.
Oh, for sure.
It's just such a cool experience, and you can see why people like live in Wisconsin and like to drive up there.
As a kid, I spent a lot of time up there too. So I, it was always a spot I'd love to go with my parents and camping. So now being an adult and being able to now go off on my own and take my friends to some of these spots is really special.
So can you remember like the first time you skateboarded?
Oh man.
Do you remember that?
So I actually remember my first skateboard and where I got it.
What was it?
So it was like some Nash from Walmart or Target or definitely Target because my mom is like big Union. So, so it was always Target. It was never Walmart. Sorry, I shouldn't probably play brand favorites on your radio show here. But so what it actually was is I remember my mom, she'd always hide Christmas presents in her closet, and being the like snoopy little kid I was, when she was off at work, I would like kind of peek in there and feel super guilty, but then peek again.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I peeked in and I saw a Nash. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this. I never told you about this. I looked in there and I saw a Nash skateboard. And I remember it said double kicktail, exclamation mark. They'd just come out with like twin tip boards at the time. And as I saw it in there, and I remember thinking like, wow, that's a really cool present. And like, I can't wait to get that.
Yeah.
And maybe that is what started it all, because that was my first skateboard. And I remember it was like, I got it at maybe Christmas, so it was winter, and I'd go in the garage, make my mom take her car to the garage so I could like try ollies and stuff in there. And then of course, I got a skateboard magazines and VHS at the time, not DVD. And I remember watching them, being like, wow, like look at, it just looks so cool. And watching guys again expressing themselves all differently on skateboard, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's still amazing to me. Like I got a skateboard, and I'm not a skateboarder, but my grandma bought me one. It was called a Hot Cat. Have you heard of it?
No, a Hot Cat?
Yeah. It had like a cat and like sunglasses on the bottom, but the board was like this thick probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was so thick and heavy.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember I just used to, I could barely stay on, but like, I think with skateboarding and stuff, it blew my mind because I couldn't like figure out how to even get off the ground. Like I still don't think I could do an ollie even if someone told me how to do it.
Sure.
It's just so hard. It's so much harder than it looks.
Yeah. Well, what is that thing they say? Like 10,000 hours at anything and you can be pro. And I think it's like that with skating. It's just one of those where I remember you just sit and do the same thing 100 times and nothing happens. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like you find that little muscle memory movement that works, and then you just start doing it. You just
watch these kids that are skateboarding at like a young age, or like even, I don't know if it was the last Olympics where there was like a 17-year-old or maybe younger American kid who won gold.
Oh, really?
In what's the one where you go down the hill and there's like jumps and stuff set up?
Oh, is that the mega ramp for skateboarding? Is that?
No, or for snowboarding.
Oh, slope style.
Yep. Yeah. So it was that, and they had like they have like the bars and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. And there was like a 17-year-old kid, and I remember he fell the first 2 rounds. You get like 3 to go. On his last one, he like landed every trick like perfectly and won gold. It was like, I'm like, you're 17, and how are you doing this? You're flying through the air and stuff. It's just like, it's crazy to me.
Well, I feel guilty not knowing his name with
being
as involved in snowboarding as I was, but at the same time, I hate to say it, but most 17-year-olds are usually that's like the age realm now these days, where kids are just ripping. And living out in Colorado like I did for a couple of years, you'd see actually families who lived in the area that homeschooled their kids just so they could bring them up to the hill for 4 hours a day and throw them in the park and have them just tear it up and go pro someday. So.
Is that the hope, you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, it's funny because although action sports, as I mentioned before, I see them more like an art. Some people do see them like that, like a sport, and will put their kid with a personal trainer for 4 hours a day.
Crazy.
Even in California, man, when I go to California, I surf, and I sometimes see a little kid with this older dude out there, and they're talking and they're really focused and dialing
like private lessons for anything, I guess.
Yeah. And people are serious about the sport. And when you go to those mecca areas like Colorado or California, then you start to see the people actually training to become professionals.
Yeah. And it's like a thing that's growing too, I feel like, at a really massive pace.
Oh yeah. Well, in the Olympics too, with skateboarding and surfing now, that's going to bring a ton of attention. And
yeah. Is that the first year, or have they had surfing in the Olympics?
No, actually 2020 is the first year for surfing.
Really? For some reason I thought it was in there. I'm like, they had to have it in there.
Well, I mean, it's like water polo, fencing, curling, you'd think maybe surfing.
Throw it in there. Yeah. It just blows my mind. So with that, I know surfing is huge in like a lot of other countries too, like Australia. And where is the best, or has there been like a really iconic Great Lakes surfer like that you know of?
I mean, there's some really popular Great Lakes surfers. I know the Williams brothers up in Sheboygan are kind of iconic. Twin brothers who've been surfing since the 60s. And so I know they wrote a book actually called Some Like It Cold,
really?
Where it kind of goes through their life, their early days of surfing in Sheboygan, the Malibu of the Midwest.
Malibu, is that
that's actually what it says on the book. Yeah, surfing the Malibu of the Midwest. So,
yeah.
So I know like they're, I would say, popular lake surfers. I know. I mean, I don't want to leave anyone out because there's so many Bob Tima up in Lake Superior, Vince, who made the Unsalted movie. Okay. Him and Mike Risco, Ryan Gerard, can't leave him out. He's Third Coast, total entrepreneur of Great Lakes surfing over in Michigan, Third Coast Surf Shop owner. Mike Miller up at EOS. I mean, he's the owner of that shop, and everyone I think that has some type of business plays some influential role in surfing. Yeah. But then there are some also surfers out there who just totally dedicate their life and time to finding waves and progressing. And my friend Rusty over in Michigan, he completely rips. There's a group of guys on the south end. I don't want to leave any of them out. Mike and Peter and Rex and those guys. And and then also here in Milwaukee too, we have a great scene. I have a great group of guys I surf with. My Nate, Adam, Kevin, Tamir, Garrett. I don't want to leave anyone out, like I said, but it's just
cool that even that you know them, because I feel like if you were surfing on the coast, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. There wouldn't be a huge community of people you'd be like, oh yeah, he's awesome or he's awesome,
For sure.
It's like it's more community driven, which is pretty cool. And that's what I was going to ask is like, do these people that like sort of I guess surf more primarily in the Great Lakes, do they compete in like the like sort of same surf competitions as like the people on the coast, like the open water sort of?
So there have been people that have gone out to the coast to do competitions, and there are some of those guys that push themselves in that style. The thing with Great Lakes surfing is it's pretty inconsistent, so we don't have a ton of competitions here, but there are a few select guys that'll go out and do some stuff on the coasts, but for the most part, a lot of the guys that surf primarily stick around here and surf around here. So it's kind of funny because, as I mentioned before, when you'll see some guys that just rip, it's like you'll meet them and they might have spent some time in Jersey or California or Hawaii or something like that. But I will say there are some guys that were born here, raised here, have never lived on the coast that really have gotten good at surfing. And so I'll always say, I always jokingly say like, oh, you got your your natives that are born here, raised here, only surf here, your transplants that come from the coast and then start surfing here when they move. Or I'll use a Harry Potter reference. They're your mud blood, right? The guy who lived here, moved out to the coast for a bit and then came back. That's all unofficial, but those terminologies. It's all on
the website. If you want to go check it out.
So I mean, there's always kind of ways to, look at them, but honestly, everyone that I've met here is just genuine and cool.
Because that'd be an interesting thing to me, because I always felt like it'd be really cool if there was like a really really talented surfer that went out there and just schooled everyone, and just came back. It was like one gold at whatever, because they're televising those events now too, like on actual like cable and like surf competitions, which I've never seen before. Which is really cool.
I love it. Actually, FS or Fox Sports, I think, televises them now, and believe it or not, there's even like a fantasy surfing league and stuff like that. That's now really with the cool. Pro Tour. So I mean, it's totally a vetted sport, quote unquote, at this point. But,
right. And I totally forgot about this. I just remembered it now. Kelly Slater. He has that like manufactured place that he made where he can just make his own waves.
The Surf Ranch.
That is insane.
And actually, since he's opened that one, a couple others have opened as well. And
really?
In my opinion, some that even work better. Like down in Waco, Texas, there's one that is really innovative and can create different sections and air ramps and stuff like that. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I get a lot of guys that ask me about that. Like, hey, how do you feel about wave pool surfing? Do you feel like it's still legit surfing?
Because it's manufactured waves.
Exactly. Yeah. And the way I see it is, it's a great training tool, and obviously a fun thing to do, right? I mean, just the press of a button, have a great wave. As a surfer, hey, that's pretty sweet. But I know some guys are purists and aren't so into the wave pool idea. But at the same time, the way I see it is, surfing is always going to be surfing, and the variables that come with it, with the lake or the ocean or a sea. And wave pools always be more predictable like they are. But at the same time, if surfers around here had the chance to ride a wave pool like that on a consistent basis, I think the product of surfing would put on our natural waves would be obviously a better, more advanced style product, or however you want to see it. In my opinion, I think they're a great training device and something that can really help you progress as a surfer and prepare you for the days on the ocean.
When I saw him like talk about it and like him actually surf the waves, and they can just like literally make any wave they want. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, who thought, like, the engineering behind this is amazing.
Oh yeah.
That you can just like, I want this sort of wave. Let's do that.
It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
So cool. And I think the Kelly's wave uses almost like basically like a freight train with a snowplow on it, just shoving a bunch of water and making a big tube. And, some of the newer ones, like in Waco, Texas, they actually I believe they shoot little air jets out so they can, manipulate that wave and actually make it a little more natural feel with, some chop in the face and, a closeout section or something like that.
Who would have thought we'd see the day? Like technology is insane.
I mean, look
days.
what we have in our pocket, right?
Yeah,
you have the internet, everything in the world
that's
is
why it
in your
blows my
pocket.
mind. Yeah. It's like, why didn't people think of this before? We have all this technology and this seems like a rather new thing, within the past 5 years.
Oh, for sure.
But like, it's crazy that no one thought of it before, I guess.
Yeah. Or just had the money to put into it.
Yeah.
I think, there have been some more primitive wave pools that have come in, I think like the early mid 2000s out in Spain. There's Wave Garden. They have one out there that's pretty old now. But yeah, I think it's just people now willing to put the money into it and say like, all right, people are interested. It's, a defined sport.
Yeah. It goes everywhere. It's worldwide.
Yeah. So it just shows the interest at least too that humans have for trying to surf these waves.
Yeah. It's something about being in water and, it has to be such a cool experience. I've never surfed and I probably have to learn.
Well, that's going to change. You should have told me that.
Yeah.
We got waves today.
Yeah. I should go out there. I mean, I saw on this, is there a sign out there? Is it like,
I just changed it actually to 3 to 6. Believe it or not, it is actually going to be a pretty big, very sloppy and wind blown and choppy today with the way the direction of the wind on our side of the lake. But definitely gonna have some waves.
Because you guys on your website, you guys put out the wave forecast sort of.
We don't actually put out the forecast, but we have a bunch of links to the forecasting sites.
Oh, okay.
So, I basically have a ton of resources on there where people can find waves. So you can just click any one of those links and go at it.
Yeah. And so what is your website? So people know?
lakeeffectsurfshop.com.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then you're also here in Shorewood on Capitol.
You got it. Yep. 1926 East Capitol Drive. We're just about a half a mile from Atwater Beach.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you just walk from here to the beach?
I have before in my early days when I was like first moved here and I'm like, oh, this will be cool. I'll walk to the beach. And a half mile is still a half mile. And Atwater's still up on a bluff of like, oh my gosh,
so many stairs. And do you guys teach classes and stuff as well, right? Or do you have lessons?
Yeah, we actually do group lessons. So when we first started trying to do lessons, it'd be, all right, we'll have one instructor per student and try to line it up with the waves. We did like 5 a year if we were lucky, trying to line it all up with everyone's schedule and the conditions. So actually what we do now is just group lessons. We take out up to 8 people a couple times a month on the weekend, and with or without waves, we take them out there, teach them how to paddle, pop up, forecast. And luckily we've scored it really good this past year where we've had little nice ankle knee-high waves on probably 2/3 of our classes or so.
That's what I would need. Something really low.
Well, it's funny because when we first started, as I mentioned, I was always like, we gotta have waves. And the more I do them, the more I'm like, I don't want any waves for a brand new surfer. It's nice to just focus with them on, balancing on the board and, put them on a paddle board even and have them kind of practice on that. So.
Because do you remember your first time out there? Like your first time surfing and being out in...
My first time surfing was actually when I dragged my mom to Huntington Beach, California. So I remember the lifeguard. It was really gnarly. No one was out. And me and my 3 Wisconsin boys, me and my 2 buddies are going out there all, pale white. And, I remember the lifeguard's like, hey, no one's out because it's really breaking hard onshore right now. They're like, you might not want to surf. And I'm just like, Mom, I got like 2 days. I'm surfing this. We're going. So I went out there and just got tossed. But got a couple good waves, or I shouldn't say good waves, stood on my feet.
Okay.
But I remember surfing out here my first time on the lakes. When I found out about it, I took my wife and I dragged her at that time to Sheboygan.
Does your wife surf or?
She has surfed before. She surfs on vacation. She's a little more fair weather surfer.
I gotcha.
But she loves adventure. She loves, hiking, camping. She's a great snowboarder.
Okay, cool.
And she's actually a yoga instructor, so killer at handstands and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
good for
athletic.
balance. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my first time surfing the lake, I just heard about this, grabbed my like 3mm suit and board and drug her up to Sheboygan. Well, at that time, I think it was like March. It was really cold and I had barely any gear. and I saw a wave. I'm like, I'm just going to go quick, like hop in and grab it. It's like 30 degrees out and I've a super thin wetsuit, no boots, gloves or anything. And she's like, you're not going out there. I'm like, yeah, just for one wave. She's like, you're not going out there. And it wasn't that it was dangerous. It was so cold and I had no gear for it. So
did you go or no?
I didn't, but I actually came back like 3 days later when there was waves alone. And I think I bought a wetsuit and had it shipped like overnight or something. Like,
it needs to come now.
It did. I remember actually that wetsuit, this is a whole story in itself, but it came like it was the wrong suit and I needed it for like 2 days later. So I like one dayed it back and paid extra to have them one day a suit to me. So I was just dying to get out.
Yeah. Was it too big or too small?
I forgot what it was. I think it was like I accidentally bought like a scuba suit or something first. And it was like these weird zippers on it. Yeah. And it was just like, well, if I wear it in the water, I can't return it. So
yeah, safety first. You have a whole scuba tank on, just to get
the mask.
Yeah, that'd be my fear. Is like, cause I'm a good swimmer. Like I'm a state qualified swimmer. So like,
awesome.
If I got tossed off, it would be fine. But my dad, the first time I think only time, he got thrown off a board into the water, hit his head on like a rock on the bottom, and got like knocked unconscious.
Oh my gosh!
And never did it again after that. And so that would be my fear now. But I feel like that has to not happen a lot.
I mean, there's always inherent risk. That sounds pretty intense. Pretty intense for your first session.
He was in California, I think, doing it. So I think it was probably similar to the day that you decided to go out, where it probably wasn't the best idea to go.
Yeah, right.
And he just did it anyway.
It's a theme with Wisconsin people, right?
Whatever, I know. It's fine. I'll go. But yeah, he got tossed off. Is there any really bad wipeouts you had or no?
I mean, I've put myself into situations where, you get a little sketched out or you don't feel comfortable. I tell everyone in my lessons too that we do, there's always going to be a moment in your life or in your surfing time that comes where you're not comfortable or you get into that oh crap situation.
Yeah, you're a little scared. Yeah.
And the thing is, anything in life, panicking is the worst thing you can do.
It makes it worse.
Especially in the water.
Yeah.
Turbulent water. So I always tell people when you do get in that, because it will happen at some point or another, to just stay calm, start thinking it through. And I mean, there's times where I've had to, paddle over a jetty and had to crawl up rocks to get out of a, area that's sucking me out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always that situation, but I try to do the preventative, going in there like, all right, what's the water doing? Where should I be? Where shouldn't I be? And if I get somewhere that I don't want to be, how am I going to get out of there?
Yeah, it definitely is worse, when you start to panic and at anything in life. But yeah, when you're in water, it's like the worst thing you can do for sure.
And I've had that too with people in classes where they don't panic, but they get that deer in the headlights look. And I just tell them like, hey, let's just sit here for a second, chill out,
everything's
get
fine.
you comfortable, and then we'll start back up again. Yeah,
because when you start learning, I feel like what you don't want is the big waves, because that probably will make you nervous already. Getting tossed while you're just sitting there, So what is like an ideal sort of wave for a beginner?
I would say anything like knee high to waist high, maybe, but really clean with a nice open face on it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't really always say that's going to happen here on the lake. We just take what we can get
right,
here. Yeah. But yeah, if you are, somewhere that it's consistent around the ocean and are waiting for that day, usually something in that like knee to waist high range that's just a really clean kind of slopey face, not too vertical or anything like that.
Yeah, because I read like when you get tossed, there's like a certain amount of time average that you're underwater. It's like 10 seconds or 15 seconds or something, or maybe longer.
I guess it really depends on the wave. If it's a really big day, I mean, it can be one where it pushes you down further.
Yeah,
you come up for air and there's another one in your face and you're going down right again. So I guess it really depends on the wave. And there's days where we can surf that it's knee high, where if you fall off the board, you don't even go under. You're waist deep or something like that. So it really depends on the wave for how long you're going to get like held under or tossed or something like that. So
but I feel like that's where most people panic, is when they're like underwater and they can't find the surface.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Who wouldn't, right?
Yeah. So where can people find, for people that want to, get lessons or just like check out your shop, what's your website again?
It's lakeeffectsurfshop.com. So
nice.
No mix in the E. A lot of people, do you mix that E together? No, there's two E's, lakeeffectsurfshop.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can check out, because you have your merchandise and stuff on there too, right?
Yeah, for sure. We got all of our private label clothes that we print on there, and we try to showcase our surfboards.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't ship them out or sell them online, the surfboards, due to the cost. But any of the clothing, anything like that, stickers, pint glasses, gift certificates, we sell all that stuff online.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here, man. We were just talking. We're gonna do another one when we're in the water.
Part 2, he's gonna be in a wetsuit. We're gonna be at the shores of Lake Michigan.
I'll have a GoPro on. We'll just see how it goes. I definitely do want to take surf lessons at some point, so I'm definitely gonna hit you up.
Awesome.
Because I just think it's a cool thing to do.
Absolutely.
It'd just be fun.
We'd be glad to get you out there.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you letting me in the store too and doing this.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.